Hi, this is Shubham,
Hi, this is Langan.
and welcome to the Salespanel podcast, where we bring you the journeys and playbooks of thought leaders from the B2B world. Tune in for all things on data-driven marketing, product-led growth, and customer intelligence. Our guest today has over 25 years of experience in sales, business development, implementation of business strategy, steering end-to-end sales processes, and team building. He's the director of growth at VUE.ai and Blocks.ai. He also likes to talk about lead generation, network building, LinkedIn prospecting, among many other things. Vas Shankar, welcome to the sales panel.
Thank you. First of all, a small correction. It's view.ai. It's easy to spell.
Pronunciation is view.
Yeah, view.ai. So
sure.
Very happy to be part of this interview process. I don't think I've accomplished enough to be in a part of an interview, but whatever little I've known, I will be happy to share.
We are very, very grateful to have you, Vas. So please tell us about view.ai more and your role in it.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I've been in diverse roles. I started with direct sales, and here I am with over 25 years of experience, currently working with Match Dent. That's the parent company. We have two brands under that. One is view.ai, which addresses the retail part of the world. The other one is the recent addition to that is Blocks.ai, which covers everything under which comes other than retail. So we have two divisions. One is view.ai and one is the Blocks.ai. And I'm here. It has been a tremendous journey with Match Dent so far. I recently completed 3 years in Match Dent. So that's wonderful news. Thank you.
Okay, so Vas, you are from a sales background and you are now spearheading growth. How does an organization implement a sales-driven growth model?
Yeah, if I look back, my sales experience has actually helped me to get aligned towards this growth role, because I know what the salespeople expect. Because when I was in sales, when people from marketing team give me leads, I always have complaints, right? This is not a good lead. This company does not have money. They have only 4 people in LinkedIn. How am I supposed to sell to that company? So all those questions I keep asking this marketing team to. Basically, it's like if you actually call the relationship between a sales and marketing team is very similar to if you think about in movies where a quote is there, right? There are 2 sides of the story. One is saying it's a good lead. One is saying it's a bad lead, right? So you always have this fight going on between the marketing and sales team. So I know what the questions the sales team are going to ask before they actually take up a demo, right? So I make sure that those questions are answered when I do this growth role, because I understand the nuances involved for bringing in the lead. What will excite the salesperson to take up that lead, right? So that has tremendously helped me. Also, coming back to your question on a sales-driven model, right? Basically, a sales-driven model is mostly adapted by B2B companies because we handle mid-market and enterprise customers. We don't go after SMBs, right? And so I'm taking into consideration just relevance is companies that are similar to our kind of companies. So I cannot address the whole kind of question. So I'm just relating this question related to just view.ai and blocks.ai, right? So to set up this sales-driven growth model, it basically starts with humans, right? You need to have get your outbound team in place, okay? You need to have a kick-ass sales team. Basically, a mindset is all important as far as the sales role in our kind of sales is concerned. The reason why I'm saying that is it takes a long time to close a sale. It is because from a person I was in sales where I used to take care of demos and close sales then and there on the phone. Show a demo, close the sales, take the credit card information over the phone. Is it as simple as that, right? From there, I've reached a situation where it takes months together to close sales. It takes anywhere between 3 to 6 months to close sales. So that is the main reason I talk about mindset is very important. Because sales person might not be that excited because anyways the sale is not going to complete now. So you need to have that mindset where It takes a lot of follow-ups because the ticket size is also big, right? It takes a lot of follow-up to close the sale. And same happens with the demand generation as well. As a team, it takes multiple follow-ups to bring that lead into the table.
Okay, so yeah, I think one interesting thing that's coming out here is that when SaaS companies decide their growth model or the GTM model, they are confused. They should go to the product-led model, or if they should go to a sales-led model, or somewhere in the middle. So, is it safe to say that if you are selling high ACV deals to enterprises, it's best to just start with a sales-driven model?
Exactly. That is exactly the reason I have talked about sales-driven model in this approach, right?
Yeah.
Where it is obviously going to take a lot of time to close the sales, and there has to be an alignment between the marketing teams. The marketing team also knows that, okay, when I bring in a lead, not every lead is going to get into an opportunity, because that requires a different mindset as well in marketing team. When compared with my other assignments here, it requires a different, okay, out of 10 leads I will give you, you will only close one, right? So we are ready to experiment that. You need to have that kind of a sales-driven model to accomplish success in this kind of companies.
Right. So looking at your vast experience in demand generation across 25 years, you have seen, entire markets changing. You have seen tech stacks changing, yet the basic need of, product market fit and principles of demand generation stays the same, right? So, or, have you seen major shifts, and how should, business constantly innovate and generate demand through new initiatives in new markets?
Yeah, basically, you need to have clean data. That's the first and foremost thing I'll normally talk about. You need to have a unified data all in one place. Because in companies where I've been before, we used to have a CRM for marketing, we used to have a CRM for sales, we used to have for CRM for, let's say, customer support, for not customer support, a customer success team, right? Once a customer is in place, the customer success team will have their own set of follow-ups. Now we are in a better place where we have all the data available in one common place, one CRM, everything is in place. So what it basically says is, you will not have transparency issue. If there is a movement in a prospect, it's all recorded in your CRM. So at any point of time, the marketing team or the sales team or the customer support or the management team, they will have a unified data available. What is happening? What is the journey of this lead? What is happening with this specific lead? That is the biggest accomplishment, I will say. How the way people look at data has changed. Nowadays, gone are those days when people talk about Excel, having sheets in Excel, and for anything and everything, they will have a report, they will have an Excel sheet, they will present this report and all that. Now everything has hey, are you talking about my productivity? Just look at the CRM, how I maintain the data. It's all coming to those days now.
Right. So, I mean, moving into, hiring, suitable candidates. So when I speak about, a B2B company which is moving into, demand generation, how do what does the process of hiring candidates look like?
See, the different people have different mindsets while hiring, right? You look at the smartest people on the planet. You look at people who communicate very well. There are different parameters that are involved while the hiring process takes place. I actually look at a spark in them, right? Even if their communication is not that great, okay, I look at a spark, and I look at people who are or in a point to prove themselves. For example, they may not got enough opportunities because they don't have the necessary qualification, they don't have the fancy MBAs, they don't have the enough experience for to take that chance, right? So I always look for the spark in them, even if they don't have that like you're talking about Oxfords and all that. I just look for a basic qualification, and I look for the spark in them. Okay, somebody is asking you, somebody is curious in asking you questions. Like typically, what happens is in an interview process, when you hire people, when you interview people, you could see that many times even people from these fancy MBAs and all that, They are not even scanned through your website. They don't have enough information of what product you're selling. They say that I did not have the time to go through your website. I'm sorry about it, right? But even people who don't have that kind of background, they say, okay, they even mug it up. They mug it up what they have actually found on the website, and they're ready to say. So at least they have done some preparation, right? So I always look for that spark, people who have questions, and people are curious to learn. Those are the three things I look for candidates when I'm doing the hiring.
Right.
Okay, so another question on demand generation. When we how can sales and marketing align for demand generation? Like when we talk about alignment, you can talk about RevOps, revenue marketing, everything. Everything is coming from a marketer's perspective when we read content on alignment. So we want to understand, since you are a sales focused leader, you are a sales leader, we want to understand your point of view.
Okay, at the bottom line, if you look at it, the goal for any company is to generate revenue, right? So now how you could backtrack it and make it deliverable for every team in some way or the other. They are able to relate to it, right? If I have to give an example, we have stopped optimizing the market engine for vanity metrics. We are focused to generate qualified opportunities, which in this make the lives of the sales team easier. If you look at the bottom line, you need to somehow make sure that the sales team is kept busy, right? That we cannot have a perfect match of, okay, I need to give qualified enterprise leads ready to buy. There is nothing like a tool or database available where you are able to give qualified buyers looking for your product in the market. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You are going to have a mix and match of people who are ready to buy, who don't have the eagerness to buy, window shoppers, and all that kind of industries. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure that the sales, because obviously, if non-productive days for a salesperson is basically you're wasting time of the salesperson,
right?
And the company is also losing revenue on that.
Right. So, View AI covers a wide variety of USPs such as content management, retail automation, CSM, and business analytics. When you are looking for growth opportunities, how do you scan the market, and do your potential customers compare you to non-AI solutions? We are really curious to understand and understand the outlook of the operation you run.
Okay. There are actually multiple questions in this. Let me try to split it up. So basically, the first question is scanning the market potential, right? Whenever you build a product, most likely that is going to be industry agnostic. And we try to gauge the potential of the product by the market cap of that industry and see whether there are similar problems exist. For example, recently we introduced a workflow automation solution, primarily for data extraction in the healthcare staffing market. And now we are taking that solution and finding out similar problems which exist in different industries like logistics, construction, real estate, etc. So that is how, when I look at scanning the market potential, that is how I look at it. Those kind of problems do exist in the market. Unfortunately, we don't know how to package it, right? Many times in demos, this is what typically happens, right? When a salesperson goes to a demo, you might have heard this many times, where make the customer talk, you talk less, right?
Yes, right.
It's not the case most of the times. The salesperson is actually very curious to demonstrate what our company offers you, right? So on that part, we are actually losing an opportunity. When you make the customer talk, he opens up and he actually talks about different problems. The way I tell my salesperson is, whenever he talks about a problem, you relate to the problem with your solution.
Right.
Okay, so that is how exactly the demo process is actually curated in our company. You don't talk much, you don't present the solution, make the customer talk, and make sure that you show the demos that relate to the problems what he talked about. Okay, now coming back to your previous question, if I have to split that, I've split that actually. So educating the customers, that is one part of your question. Most of the content point of view, education perspective I'm talking about, they are directly selling it, right? When you're trying to educate, you're actually trying to sell it to the customer. But when you try to give the prospects that you actually gain using the solution. It becomes easier to convey the message, right? That is exactly what I was talking about during demos. Don't talk about your solution. Talk about how your solution could address his problem, right? So that is how exactly what I feel about how you could educate the customers. Nowadays, when you talk about, for example, when I'm having an interaction through email to a prospect, when you talk about, okay, this is what my solution does, will you be interested to have a demo? Most of the customers don't even respond, right? When you talk about, okay, this is a case study, one of your competitors, one of your companies of similar size, this is what they are using our solution. Yes, he is ready to hear. So that is where the education content is very important rather than selling that content, right? And your third part of your question, do your potential customers compare you to non-AI alternatives? Unfortunately, we are not addressing that part of the market. We are only addressing to mid-market and enterprise customers. This problem actually comes in with SMBs. And unfortunately, we are not scattering to that market.
Right. So Vas, tell us about the top level challenges that you see when marketing an AI focused solution as compared to the classical one. Yeah.
As you always know, reaching out the right prospects, because as you rightly said, not everyone understands AI, right? AI is considered as a magic word. Nowadays, when I interview people, they always say, you know what? Why did you apply to Matchden? Because you're doing something exciting. You are into the AI space. Can you please tell me what exactly we do? Can you please explain me what you might have looked at our website? Can you please try to explain in your language, from a bird's eye point of view, what have you understood from your product? Unfortunately, they don't have an answer. AI as a keyword, they are fascinated about it, but they cannot think beyond that, right? That is exactly happens in educating a customer as well, right? So there is an entry barrier, and that is exactly the reason we are doing a top-driven approach, right? Rather than a bottom to top-driven approach while positioning your product. That is exactly what we are currently do, because AI, everyone is talking about AI, right? The whole world is unfortunately talking about AI. To make the difference, you need to talk about solutions. You need to talk about their problems, not talk about just your solutions.
Yes. So yeah, like you said, AI is kind of a buzzword right now. Like everybody's interested, and I think there are some like expectations aligned to that as well. Like when I check out an AI product, maybe I have something more in mind, and that might be one challenge what companies that are focused on AI need to solve, that the customer expectation. They should understand, like the customer should understand how the product sells and like what to expect from it.
Yep, very true.
So machine learning or AI focused analytics and business intelligence solutions are rapidly growing for B2B. Even if we look at Google Analytics 4 has look at like audiences, trends, anomaly analysis built in. And when a product like Google Analytics, which is having the biggest market share, like they're the most used analytics tool, they're changing their position and core architecture just for the sake of the future. Like it's a big change. Google is shutting down Universal Analytics, and they are just going to focus on GA4. So can we say that intelligence is coming into the mainstream for products associated with B2B analytics, and have AI-based business solutions entered the general market? And exactly where are we? If a marketing ops team is listening to this episode, what should they do to prepare for the future?
That's a great question. I don't know who helped you to make this question, but I may have to take the help of some folks internally to get an answer for this, because to be honest, I'm not a technical person, but whatever little information I know about your question, I'm trying to answer it. Recently, Fortune Business Insights have released a report on this. The global AI market is valued at 387 billion in 2022 and project to grow 1400 billion with 2029, exhibiting a forecasted growth of 20.1%. That's the growth rate. So if you put this growth in perspective, in 2022, 2020, it was valued at, I guess, 130 billion. The growth is multifold over here. And right now, we are seeing how the businesses want to become AI native because they have seen advantages of that especially during this COVID period, right? How smaller businesses are using data to make significant moves in the market. So there is no question about not adapting something like this, right? Now, everything boils down to the data, and most of the companies are already, as I mentioned, already started using AI-driven analytics to take prescriptive insights and act based on it. As it saves tons of money for the business by helping them to target the right people and therefore save costs, right? So this quietly aligns with the marketing ops profession as well, as their basic work is with data managing and analysis. Viewing the different functions of data in a single funnel is also almost important to make a cohesive based back decision. Otherwise, it becomes a piecemeal again, right? So having a mindset of analytical thinking and adapting to the new challenges, consistent learning, unlearning is also required in this field.
Right. Okay. So yeah, answering your question. So we are also a customer journey tracking platform with Salespanel. So Paras and I, Paras is the CEO of the company, and Paras and I, we keep a track of what's happening with Google Analytics because Google is the the big player, the big data. So if they are shutting down Google Analytics and they are focusing on customer journey tracking and AI-based things, that does mean that that's where the future is heading. So yeah, Paras asked me to ask you about this, and here is the question.
Sure. Yeah.
So Vas, one of the things that you talk about is LinkedIn prospecting. You're pretty big on LinkedIn. So what do you think LinkedIn outreach is essential, and what is your strategy for building your network? Because of course it's a large ocean you have to navigate, right?
True. Now, first of all, answering a question of why at all LinkedIn outreach is essential, right? Now, gone are the days where direct selling was important, right? Going to an office, meeting up a person, putting your ties on and doing a handshake, and you understand the nuances of how a customer behaves, right? If he's shaking your hand with tightly, that means he wants to hold a relationship and all that nuances that are involved with direct selling, right? I used to do that in the earlier days, but nowadays everything is becoming virtual, and thanks to COVID as well, right? Now, the difficulty of selling to a customer to a US customer from Alvarpet to Texas, right? To New Delhi to California. How do you make that possible, right? Just email, that is not going to be possible. So that is why I guess we have this exciting platform for your outreach exercises. It's very similar to your if somebody who has not understood the power of LinkedIn, somebody who has understood the power of Facebook, somebody who has understood the power of WhatsApp, it's very equivalent to that. Let's say that you are proposing to your girlfriend on WhatsApp, and you see a blue tick, you are excited about it. Okay, she sees a message and she's going to reply to your message. You are waiting for that message reply from her, right? Very similar to that. Think of a situation where you are actually proposing your solution to a prospect on LinkedIn as a platform, and you have ways and means the prospect has read your message because it shows that he has read your message. Now it shows that he is typing a message. Equally exciting, right? It's as simple as that. If you have to give in a common language, it's as simple as that. Exciting because when somebody is going to respond to your email, it's difficult to gauge whether they're going to respond it or not. But here on LinkedIn, very similar to your WhatsApp, very similar to your Facebook Messenger, you see a person typing a message. It could be a yes or no, but somebody who's responding to the message. That is why I feel that most of the companies, it could be even a one-man shop. They are available on LinkedIn. SMB available on LinkedIn. Mid-market available on LinkedIn. Enterprise, no doubt, available on LinkedIn. There is no other platform equivalent to LinkedIn where you could do your outreach, right?
Right.
So my suggestion is, if somebody is in outbound or inbound, whatever it could be, right? Many people talk about, okay, LinkedIn is only necessary for people who are doing outbound. That is not true. Okay, let's say an inbound sign up comes in. I actually follow the same mechanism that I used to use for an outbound prospect as well. Let's say that Nilanjan has signed up for a product. First thing I do is I go to LinkedIn and search for Nilanjan. Yeah. I send him a connection request. How do I send him a connection request? I will use an intro message if necessary, because intro messages are necessary only for people who you are a third degree network. We'll talk about all that probably some other day, but I'll talk about on basic version. If I have to introduce myself to Nilanjan, what I'll say is, thank you for your interest shown on the View.ai solution. I'm looking forward to getting connected. So Nilanjan will think, oh my God, okay, I just signed up for this View.ai product and this person has sent me a request. Oh, that's a great outreach skill. Accept. So now the biggest advantage I'm having here is I could send an email to Nilanjan, and if he does not respond to my email, I will actually follow up with him on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So basically, go ahead. You had a question?
No, please continue.
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah. So basically, I call this as an omni-channel network. Mm-hmm. What I mean by omni-channel is, people always say omni-channel. There is a common buzzword used these days, right? Yeah. Omni-channel is nothing but, if you're talking in an outbound strategy, your marketing team is actually sending out ads to Nilanjan talking about View.ai. He's clicking on an ad, he actually lands in your website and all that. The second way is you reaching him through LinkedIn, you reaching him through email. So there are multiple ways you are targeting the same customer. That's an omni-channel approach, and he gets converted either ways. So yeah, that is exactly. And your second question of how do you go about in building a network?
Yeah,
it entirely depends on what is the industry you're trying to serve to. Whatever industry, you might be selling to fashion space, you might be selling to let's say healthcare space. The way, let's say you're a fresher, right? You're a fresher, you're new to this business, you don't know where to start. You heard about LinkedIn, but you don't know where to start. So let's take a small example. Let's say you're trying to serve healthcare as a domain. Just look for influencers of healthcare. There are so-called influencers for each space. If you're selling to the fashion market, there are fashion influencers, there are healthcare influencers. These influencers write about specific topics of interest on that space. For example, if I'm a healthcare influencer, I'll talk about a specific healthcare company, the new technology that they have introduced. Okay, they are being paid for that. So my initial way, if I'm starting from scratch on LinkedIn, is to get connected with these influencers. The reason why I get connected to these influencers is these influencers are connected with most of the companies that I'm trying to address. So when I'm trying to send, for example, let me just take an example. Let's say Shubham is an influencer and Nilanjan Roy is my prospect. Okay, Nilanjan Roy and Shubham are connected because Shubham is an influencer. Nilanjan is obviously connected with Shubham. Now, let's say Vas sends a request to Shubham and Shubham accepts it. Now, when I'm trying to send a request to Nilanjan, Nilanjan will also accept it. There is a possibility that Nilanjan might accept it because there is a third connect there, Shubham, who is a mutual connect between Nilanjan and Vas. That is exactly why I say that is the simplest way of building a network.
Right. So clearly, the potential of LinkedIn is unmatched, but there is a rejoinder. I mean, proposing through WhatsApp is a terrible idea. Over to you, Nilanjan.
Okay, that's not the topic for today. But I have a follow-up question on this, on the serious note. So, yes, definitely, I think LinkedIn is great, the best. I think the best for B2B companies. And but one challenge, I think one important challenge is the messaging if you're doing outreach. For example, in Gmail you can write a little longer text. But on LinkedIn, what I see is like if somebody comes to me and somebody sends me a connection request, then there's immediately a message that's a wall of text. Like
Yes.
on Gmail it would look natural, but on LinkedIn that looks like a wall of text, and I just ignore. So I think
yeah, that is exactly the reason I talk about omni-channel approach. You have to limit your text content on LinkedIn, but there is no limitation when you're sending an email on Gmail. So what I typically do is, if I have to build a outreach journey for, let's say, Nilanjan, what I typically do is, first is I send him a request. Okay. Then even before that request, I might have sent an email to Nilanjan about our product and solution. Now it's a jackpot that after that email, let's say Nilanjan has also accepted my request. That means it's a jackpot, because I have two ways of communicating to him. One is an email channel, and another is a LinkedIn channel. Now, talking about Nilanjan's concern about, obviously you cannot send a big text on LinkedIn, but what I will typically do is, let's say that I've sent him that email. Now Nilanjan has opened that email 3-4 times, which means that it actually increases my curiosity factor. Looks like Nilanjan might be my prospect because he's opened my email 3-4 times. Now that those 3-4 times, but he's not responding, he's not writing me an email back. So I'm little doubtful. Now the best way to follow up with me, because I could see he's online on LinkedIn. Now this is the best way for me to actually follow up on a conversation. Now the biggest thing here to notice is, before that you need to do a warming up on LinkedIn. What I mean by warming up is, it is not about talking about your products, your solution, all that blah blah blah. Warming up a prospect is talking about mutually interesting topics. For example, let's say Nilanjan lives in Bangalore. I could talk about, hey, you know what, today there was a hailstorm in Bangalore. Hope you're safe. Or let's say Nilanjan has last week Nilanjan has completed 3 years in Salespanel. I'll say, hey Nilanjan, congratulations. Looks like you completed 3 years. So that is a conversation I'm trying to build with Nilanjan. And on the other end, Nilanjan says thank you, because now I warmed up this Nilanjan as a prospect. Hope you understood this. Now, I've not talked about anything about my products or services. Now, the next thing I'll do is, Nilanjan has opened my email. I'll follow up now, because I've made the warm up. The warm up is done. Now it is time for me to follow up, saying that, hey Nilanjan, I hope all is well with you. Did you had a chance to go through my previous email? So that is how the follow up happens using the omni-channel approach.
Yeah, I think some people also do this. They usually comment on their prospects post.
To get your attention.
Right.
You could comment. You could even like the old post that he has posted. Nilanjan has posted. I like all his posts. I comment all his posts. So what happens is, you are trying to register your name with Nilanjan. I'm trying to register my name with Nilanjan, saying that, okay, this was as a prospect, I've connected with them and he is trying to write. So what happens is, there is a common courtesy. When somebody is liking your post, somebody is commenting, saying that congrats and all that, most of the people actually fell into the trap, saying that thank you for that. But they really don't know this is actually the start of the trap. When they respond to one message, then you start conversing them with your marketing messages.
Interesting. So just a curious question, how many connections do you have on LinkedIn, and what does your daily activity look like for a person who is doing outreach?
Okay. I have about close to 26,000 connections.
Oh my God.
But that's not grown overnight. It's over a period of time I've done that. I've religiously done that. I always feel that LinkedIn as a platform, you don't have to look at only on the professional side. What I mean by that is, okay, how do I get more prospects for my solution through LinkedIn? That is not the only way you look at LinkedIn. I always tell people who I'm interviewing, people who are working with me, actually think selfish about LinkedIn. What I mean by selfish is, when I grow a network, actually, let's say that I'm looking out for a job, or let's say I'm looking out for a job for my friend, my colleague, my teammate. I could actually happily say that I could have placed at least 600 to 700 people so far.
Wow.
Just my LinkedIn connects. So it is a platform to help people mutually as well, right? When somebody is on need, you actually, when somebody is posting a job, right, you actually go and like or comment that post. What happens is that post actually reaches your connections as well. Okay, somebody who's looking out for a job might apply because you like that post. They might apply for that post. So that is how exactly it has happened. So I would probably say the most powerful network to grow professionally, and in fact personally, for job front, somebody is looking out, somebody is wanting to help your friends, your colleagues, teammates, this is the best network available. And coming back to your question about how does your daily activity look like, right?
Right.
Actually, I wake up and sleep with LinkedIn. That is that's how my daily activity look like. So if I have to open LinkedIn, the first thing I do is I go to my notifications tab. Why I go to my notifications tab? Because those are conversation starters for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, going to your old example, Nilanjan has completed 3 years in Salespanel. I go back to the notification tab and congratulate Nilanjan, because
Mm-hmm.
there are previous conversations with Nilanjan which Nilanjan has not responded. But when I congratulate Nilanjan, there is a possibility that he might respond. I'll go back to my old conversation and probably catch him there. That is a possibility. I'm not guaranteeing that. Similarly, job role changes, people joining a different company, birthday reminders, all that are actually, I will say that I will probably connect them with potential prospects waiting for you. Because when you make these conversation starters, at some point of time, these will convert into opportunities, not just professionally, right? It all happens with it's the relationship building, right?
Right.
At some point of time, you might require a service, you might require a solution which he's selling, you might require somebody who's looking for a job, you might refer them. So a world of opportunities. That is how. So apart from that, as I mentioned, it doesn't stop with just LinkedIn, right? You go back to your emails and look for companies that have gotten funding, right?
Right.
In your line of business. For example, you are a company selling to healthcare as a domain. Look for new technologies that have introduced in the healthcare space. Every day, read through it. Again, those are your source of in fact, source of leads waiting for you. When they talk about a problem, you might have a solution for them. When they talk about a funding, there is a potential prospect waiting for you, because when they get funding, they are trying to invest on new technologies, new tools like what you're selling, right? So
Right.
you always keep your eyes and ears open for all these notifications. You subscribe for different newsletters specific to your industry domain, whatever you're trying to sell, and those will give you news that will make your conversation, because customers are not excited about when you talk about your product or solution. They are excited about when you talk about their problems, when you talk about their funding news, right? Because they at least know that you are at least done some decent research about their company. You're not just talking about, hey, this is view.ai, will you be interested to buy this solution? You're not talking about that, right? That is how nowadays everything has changed. People are in a mindset where if you understand their problem, they're ready to buy from you.
Yeah. So Vas, you spoke about, briefly about newsletter. It's one of, the very impactful tools on LinkedIn, and you run a LinkedIn newsletter which is called Out of the Box. Please tell our viewers more about it.
Sure. As you might be knowing, we have been in this business for more than 6 years now, and we have lucky enough to have spoken to 5,000 plus brands and marketplaces, where we have learned a lot, and of course develop solutions on top of it. Whenever a customer comes with a problem, we might not have a solution for that. We might try to build a solution not just for that customer, and try to see if there is a similar kind of problem exists elsewhere as well, right? That is exactly how we are build our products. And we feel is our responsibility as a frontier in this space to educate others and prepare them for this AI native world. That is exactly why we call AI for everyone, right? It is not just for enterprises anymore. It's almost even a two-shop company wants to do something within AI, right? So,
Right.
and we are opening these learnings to in this world through this newsletter called Out of the Blocks. It's a culmination of our learnings, ideas, and innovation. People who are interested to know about this, they could actually subscribe to this. Probably in this interview, you could probably give them a link if they want to subscribe to it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Vas, for joining us. And you've been very generous. We hope that you continue to, impact people's life positively, both via your work and especially on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Of course. Pleasure is mine. It was a great pleasure in talking to both of you, and I wish you all success. And hope we will have an exclusive session someday about the new answers, because I always wish that to whatever little I've learned on my LinkedIn selling, one of these days I would like to contribute to for people who are new to LinkedIn, who don't know how to do the outreach. We'll definitely have one of the sessions exclusively for that.
Sure.
One of these coming days. We'll be happy to do
Absolutely. Thanks again. And thanks to our audience for sticking with us. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, please be safe. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.